stand, hit your like buttons, make sure you are subscribing. Loads to talk about tonight, loads to go through tonight. It's a huge weekend. There is no doubt about it. We've got some big injury updates to discuss as well. Plus, what changes would you make ahead of what is going to be a huge game against Crystal Palace? We know that Cunha's out. We know that Šeško's out. Will Ruben get it right? We're also going to take a look at what Ruben Amorim has said about not being able to get the players to work for him, not being able to get the players to deliver for him in the right way. So, look, from my point of view and perspective, loads going on at Man United this week. We've got a really busy couple of weeks. We're actually going to play 2-3 games in the space of a week because there's midweek Premier League games. So the squad is going to be tested, and we don't have a fit squad. We've got some holes in it. We already knew we had holes in it already. How are we going to cope over the course of the next few days? I'm here for the next 40, 50, 60 minutes to go through it with you. But of course, your comments, your opinions, your views on this are far more important than mine. And I cannot wait to read them. Good evening, Ryan. Good evening to Chris, who doesn't want me here, but good evening to you. I won't take it too badly. Hello, Connor. Hope you're well, my friend. Hope you're good and everything's, hope everything's good your end. 1 second. Just getting a message through here. So, yeah, look, from my point of view, excited to talk about this. A little worried about the game, though. And how many of you are? I'd love to get a poll up on this one. I would love to get a poll up on how you're feeling about this game. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you dreading it? Or are you a little indifferent? Love to get a poll to gauge the emotions, the feelings, the gut feelings, I suppose, of many of you tuning in and watching tonight. Because I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it on every single level, and especially after the news today. The news today that has come out. Oh, hang on a minute. What's going on here? It sent me an overlay. Very sorry about this. I'll get this sorted for you guys. We'll get it looking good again. Don't worry. Hang on a minute. There we go. Look at that. Boom. Sorry about that. Like, from my point of view, I'm dreading it. And when this news come out today, and I'll update you haven't seen it, it's Šeško on the updated players. Šeško is going to take a bit more time. Harry's going to take some time. Matheus Cunha, the next one, but not this one. Not having Cunha back for this game is a worry for me. And the reason it's a worry is I don't know what he's going to do squad-wise. I don't know what he's going to do with the team. We all know what should happen. Mainu should come into central midfield. Bruno should go into the left 10. The right 10. Mount should come into the team. And then Mbeumo should go up top. The bench has to have the likes of Shea Lacey. The bench has to have the likes of Chido Obi on it. We need attacking options. I don't care how young they are. But is Ruben going to do it? My gut feeling just says no. My gut feeling is not good on this one. And I've already voted on the poll. I've said not feeling good about it at all. And I don't know about you all. I haven't seen you all since the Everton game, which my predictions for that were completely wrong. I felt that when we played against Everton that we would have great intensity. I thought we would go out there like a bull in a china shop. I thought we would play to a higher level for this squad. Not a high level, comparatively to the best teams in the world. But I thought we'd really go out there, show some authority, and perform. And we were charlatans. We were pigs. I think I referred to us on Monday night. Pigs. It was so lazy, lethargic, and horrible. And right now, Ruben Amorim looks lost. Ruben looks lost. And I saw that in his face in that press conference today. I saw it on the sidelines. And some will blame him. And I'm not saying he's blameless. I'm not saying that his system has no issues. I'm not saying that he hasn't made some terrible personnel decisions. I was out last night with the team from the United Stand, and myself, Beth, Mark, and I want to say it was Greg. We were all talking about the substitutions, and you could probably count on one hand. You could be a turtle and only have 3 digits. Do turtles have 3 digits? Maybe I'm thinking of penguins. Anyway, right? You could have a 2-digit hand and you could still probably not count the amount of times substitutions have made a massive impact for Ruben Amorim. And Monday night was a prime example of that. The centre-back staying on, the centre-back sitting back quite deep, not really getting involved in the attack. All of these things absolutely horrendous on every single level. And he's looking lost. And that's my fear ahead of this game. It's why I'm not feeling great about it. I look at it and feel that we're going to pick the wrong team, make the wrong substitutions. I think that will take the intensity out of the team because I think the players know. And now I look back on it with hindsight. Why the players lack intensity? Well, they see that you've broken up Ahmad and Mbumo again. They probably viewed this as, well, look, Bruno will step into Cunha's position and or Mount will come into that position. We understand why Xerxes in, but maybe if you push Bruno up a level and do something along those lines and then bring Mainu into the team. Mainu's been fighting for an opportunity. He'll get one now. I think the players probably wanted to see that happen. And instead, we play with far too many defensive-minded players. And I think it was a kick in the backside, a kick in the ball, sorry. Excuse my language, for the players. But I'd love to get your opinions on this. So we've got a super chat here that says, hi, Terry. Great to have you back, mate. Love TFT as well. Do you agree, Sir Jim, giving Amorim 3 years has caused chaos to United season? Look, thank you very much for the kind words. First of all, it means a great deal to me. I don't think he's got 3 years. I think everybody has taken that quote and decided it means he's getting 3 years irrespective. I don't think Ruben will get 3 years. You heard Ben Jacobs with Beth yesterday afternoon. I'm paraphrasing slightly what he said, but it was to words to the effect of, let's see how the results go up until the middle or end of December and then see how Man United assess it. He's not going to be here irrespective of results, irrespective of context for the next 3 years. There has to be progression. Now, from when Sir Jim said that until the Everton game, we had improved. And some people will say there was adaptations to the system. Some will say it was just the players. Some will say the manager. Some will say it was just pure luck. And I don't really care what your rationale and reasoning is for it. There was an improvement. And you thought, well, okay, that's what Ruben and the team need to do if he's going to stay for 3 years. And I agree to a certain extent with Sir Jim that it probably, when you take over a team like Man United who are broken, it probably does take about 3 years before you can fully judge the capabilities of a manager. Because the one thing where I'll defend Ruben is this squad is nowhere near the level to become consistent. It's why when people ask me, am I Amorim in or am I Amorim out, I feel like I'm Amorim sort of agnostic in a way. And that isn't to defend him. And I think it's very surface level to say you want him sacked or you want him in and then stop the conversation. I see the absolute merit in him leaving because he hasn't done enough to deserve to be here. I agree. We're averaging 1 Premier League win a month. It's nowhere near good enough. I concur on every level. Equally, what do I think an Areola could do? What do I think a Grasna could do? What do I think a Xavi could do? Well, let's take a look at it. How many EPL games has Ruben Amorim managed for Man United? I don't know the answer. Hopefully Google finds it quickly. He's managed 39 games, okay? So, in my opinion, I don't think any manager over a 39-game period, it's basically a whole season he's had, he's only got 12 wins, nowhere near good enough, okay? So 12 wins from 39 gives you a grand total of 30% win ratio. Horrendous, and I'd move him on. But this is why I'm not sitting here and I'm not just focused on the idea of a new coach. I'm probably more focused on what we're doing squad building wise. Because could Areola make us win more games? Yes. But let's just say out of those 39 games, he wins us 55%. 55% win ratio, okay? As an example. That would have been 21 wins in that point. Now, if you extrapolate that across the course of a season, 21 wins, you're looking there at around 63 points, which is pretty good. You might throw some draws in there. You go, do you know what, Terry? 55% win ratio would be a European side again. But this squad, we're still going to fall short with this squad. We're still going to have people complain We're still going to have people wanting the manager out. Do you know how I know this for a fact? Because Jose's and Ollie's and Ten Hag's were winning at that kind of percentage, and we wanted all of them gone at different times. So it's never about defending the manager for me. It's about not losing sight of the other issues. That's my problem, by and large, with the manager in and manager out conversations. It often creates too much of a conversation around that's the biggest problem. And then people end up being deluded. Or they get deluded into thinking, or they delude themselves. They labour under an illusion that, when we get this next manager, you watch us cook. The reason why that didn't happen, we didn't get no new manager bounce with this guy. And the worst sometimes thing to happen is you get a new manager bounce, you win 4 or 5 in a row, and you go, oh my God, the squad was actually really good. And then we come dropping back down to reality when we level out and we lose our minds again. The media jump on it, the pressure increases, and it's a harder environment for the manager to cope. So again, as I say, would I sack Amorim today? Yes, I would. I would get rid of Amorim today if I was in charge. But what I wouldn't do is abandon whatever the project is. And I'm not someone that rejects the word project or process in football anymore, because we are a process. We are a project. Maybe we can find a better, maybe someone could search chat GTP and find a better word for it that doesn't trigger people. But we are a broken club who need fixing. What I don't want to do is go in a 180 and go in a completely different direction. And the new head coach doesn't like Mbumu, doesn't like Ahmad, sees no future for Yoro as an example, thinks Lemaines is an absolute waste of time, and goes, right, guys, back to the drawing board on recruitment, and we go back to day one of trying to rebuild everything. I want someone that comes in and says, well, look, I know what you guys were trying to do with Ruben. I'm going to make some adaptations. My formation might be slightly different. Maybe 1 or 2 of my starters would be different, but overall the philosophy is very similar. The way I want to play is very similar, and the profile of player that I like is similar, so we can keep building in that direction. That is what I hope for. So I think the reason why I push back on a lot of the in and out conversations, and I don't mean this to sound horrible, I just find them too superficial, I find them too basic, and I don't think they address some of the bigger root cause problems. The reason why I don't believe the manager has ever been the root cause problem at Man United is we've gone through 6, 7, 8, 9 of them, and progressively over time got worse. There is an argument, well, none of the managers have left and gone on to do brilliant things elsewhere, so maybe it's just been bad recruitment each time. If that's the case, then why do I have faith in us getting it right this time? Again, the excitement still isn't there. But for me, I think we kill managers. I think we destroy them. I think people leave our club and they're suddenly looked at as clowns and pathetic. Nobody was slagging off Ten Hag when he came in. Nobody was slagging off the Ragnick appointment. Nobody really was slagging off the Ruben appointment. But at this stage, when they've been sacked or they're close to being sacked, they're suddenly looked at as jokers. And it's because I think the overall club has failed, and it damages them massively. So look, I would move Ruben on. But it doesn't mean as a fan I'm going to be... I'm unhappy about it because it means we've failed. I'm not going to celebrate and jump for joy anymore. And secondly, right now, I have no faith the next guy works. I don't want him sacked before he started, but I've got zero faith. And I'm going to stop myself this time from being drawn into conversations about the if, the buts, and the maybes. It's going to be, are these players going to work for this guy? Because, again, did Ruben tell that... maybe it was the way he picked the team and they didn't feel like working hard because they hated it. But is that good enough reason? And Goldbridge has said it this week, and he's right. This team's entitled. And if that dressing room remains entitled, again, we're only ever going to get to a 50, 55% win ratio. Maybe push at 60, but it won't last. Root cause problems must always be focused on and must always be addressed. And I don't personally feel ever any of the managers that have been looking after us have been the root cause problems of our overarching decline. And I think it's important to address that. James here says, when you factor in net spend, wages and agent fees, are United actually the least efficient club in Europe's top leagues? Yes, James. We have been the least efficient club in the world for the past 13 years. And it's transcended and gone beyond every manager. It's learnt behaviour. It's absolute learnt behaviour. And people don't like this conversation. One, this won't matter for the United Stand community. Other Man United communities are not as intelligent as you. That's a fact. And they don't want a more intellectual conversation about it because they just want to go, manager rat. Get the manager right. Sack the manager and watch will cook. Yeah, you've been saying that each manager along. You've been wrong every time. Learned behaviour is real. And you know how learned behaviour is real? You see it in people that are devout to whichever religion they follow, because people that actually follow their religions are doing things now that people 500 years ago were doing, 1,000 years ago were doing. Learned behaviour. You don't have to have witnessed it or been there at its inception to do it now. I do it and you do it. There's certain traditions that I do when on Sundays with dinner. There are certain things I do at Christmas that my family have done for generations, and it's been passed down. Now my children do it, but they never met my great-granddad. Learned behaviour. Why? Because there's an overlap of people. That's how you pass things on to the future generations. There are children that will do things for Remembrance Day. They weren't alive when World War II ended, but they still honour it because of learned behaviour, as an example. So from my point of view, I reject this notion that the squad isn't partly responsible. They may not have all been here for every failing, but they've been, each one of them is connected to people that have been here for all the failings. Some of the players, like Luke Shaw, have been here since LPG, but the learnt behaviour is there. And all these things must be addressed. And I know in the moment, it's very easy to go at the manager. A lot of people agree with you. It's a very easy target. I just won't lose sight of the wider problems at this club ever. We are the most poorly run football club, in my opinion, in Europe, and have been for 13 years. That is what Ten Hag did, though. He just hired because he promised he would make existing crap players work, and we saw how it ended. Well, again, that's a great point, but I'm not asking for a coach to go, I can make the crap players work. I'm looking for a coach that can get the very best out of the crap players we have, continue implementing the system, and work with the players that the new signings we've made, like in Bruno, like Cunha, like De Ligt, who are working well, like Lemaines. He's got to understand. He's got to want those profile of players. You are absolutely right. What we shouldn't be doing, and I love this super chat. It's one of the best I've seen. Absolutely fantastic. You're correct. We shouldn't be talking about renewing Maguire's contract, renewing Luke Shaw's contract, Bruno looking to move him on, Cash looking to move him on. Don't give the same manager, another manager, lots of the same problems that the previous person had. Move them on, buy better players. We do this thing where, by the way, I expect coaches to get more. I expect Amorim to have got more out of these players, much more out of these players. Concur. But Pep and Klopp, who have been the best two managers of the past decade in the Premier League, they didn't create title-winning, Champions League-winning, treble-winning teams with what they inherited and a couple of signings. It was continual spending and investment. Continual spending and investment. Wage bills continually growing to hold on to their best talent. Every successful manager at the highest level of the game needs to spend money and needs to move on the players that are not good enough, don't work, and bring in better. And United, we also do this thing where we start spending, we do spend money, but we waste so much because we keep going in new directions, which means the next head coach who sees football differently is like, well, I know he's been doing well. He's been doing well. I look at Bruno in that way. Bruno was killing it at Man United, and I don't think it's ever been as good since Ronaldo came in. Because when Ronaldo came in, although Bruno's role sort of started changing in the team, and then in the last couple of years, he hasn't even really played a 10. He's played in central midfield too much. Oh, we're going to sacrifice him and put him out on the wing because we haven't got no right wingers that can do it. And I'm looking at it going, he's our best player. He was our best player in that 10 role. And yet, we sort of didn't build around him. We've been moving him about. Those types of things must stop. They have to stop. So I agree with you completely. But it's why Ruben's done himself no favours. If Ruben had a 55-60% win ratio, this conversation wouldn't be happening. We'd go, do you know what? I can see the improvement and a bit of consistency, but now the squad's got to be improved. The squad's still got to be improved, but so does the manager. The squad issues don't stop being right just because the manager's doing a bad job. And we can't lose sight of that, United fans. We must not lose sight of that. Let's have a look at some more of your comments that have come through here. What doesn't sit right is that Ineos set him up to fail by bringing him in last season, knowing his methods need a fresh start. If he began this year as he wanted, we'd say he's starting the process. I love the replies here from you guys. First reply says 100% correct. He is a system coach and needs a lot of signings like Luis Enrique at PSG, but they got him nothing. Now he's had the longest preseason in history of football. So there's two different responses from you guys in the comment section, and I'm kind of in the middle of the two. I think the improvement. I mean, what's this year looking like? If we just look at the league as an example. So we look at his overall win percentage in the Premier League is 30%, which is nowhere near good enough. This season, the win ratio is probably going to be slightly better than that. Is at 41%. If we'd have won on Monday, it would have been at 50%. So there has been a 10% increase in the win rate this season. It's still very early in the campaign, so one win and the percentage can jump by 10%, but it can drop quickly as well. Because the win percentage before kickoff of the last game was at 45, so it dropped 4 to 5. It dropped nearly 5% after one defeat. Would have gone up 5% with a win. So there has been a slight improvement. But had he have come in the summer and been bought the same players and started the season off this way, we would all be giving him more time. What we can't ignore and we can't get out of our heads is how bad it was last season. If we've played 12 games this season. That means, I'm just going to 39 minus 12, which means he played 27 last year. Okay. So he's only won, how many games? He's only won 12, right? And 5 of those 12 wins have come this season. Don't forget that. There has been a slight improvement. So last season, we won 7 games. He won 7 games last season. And if you divide that by the 27 games, that means his win percentage last season was 25% in the Premier League. 1 in 4, he was winning. The issue is we remember that, we feel it, we remember the Europa League final. By the way, if he'd have won the Europa League final, I think he'd get more time from fans because he'd won us a trophy, and he hasn't done a good enough job getting the wins. I understand the problems that he's got. When I read this comment here, and it's such an important comment, and then we'll go back to what you guys are saying, when he said the same, it goes this way, the same things we need to do to show players why we lost control against Nottingham Forest and Spurs. So we spoke about how we've got to do more of this, teaching the players why we lost control of things, why we lost control of the game. Those games were there to win. Then I felt during this year the intensity was higher. This season, he means. But in this game, Everton, the intensity was not at the level, and it's something we need to work on. And the thing is, I agree with a lot of what he said. I felt we were quite in control of the Forest and Spurs games. In the Spurs game, the bits I didn't like in the second half is we became very panicky on the ball and we didn't capitalise on opportunities. In the Forest game, we were brilliant, had a bad 2 minutes of the second half, and then were the better team again and went on to get a draw. Against Everton, as I've already said, he's correct, we didn't have intensity. And if you don't have intensity, you don't move the ball quickly, and you don't play with aggression, then you're always going to lose games in the Premier League because it's such a physical and intense league. The concern I've got is that he can't get them to do it consistently. And that is a coaching issue. But I don't let the players 100% off the hook, because although they may have felt downbeat after he picked a really defensive side against Everton, it isn't an excuse to not give 100%. And that's just my outlook on life and work, sport in general. But it worries the living daylights out of me. It's such a bad... Doesn't matter if you think it's a player's fault, the manager, both. This is not a good sign. What I'm essentially reading here from Ruben Amorim, and why I think he looks lost, and maybe it is him, maybe he's a bad coach, maybe he's a bad communicator, but he's looking at it and going, we're showing these players every week the things they need. They do really... Basically, he's saying they do lots of good things in games. But then it's this little thing here and this little thing here where we lose control for 10 minutes and we lose or we draw. Or everything was right, but we just didn't move the ball quick enough. We didn't play with enough intensity, and then we lose. And I think he's getting to a point where he's sitting there and saying, I'm showing them, I'm teaching them, I'm showing them the video footage, and they're just not getting it. They just don't understand it. Or maybe worse than that, they just pick and choose when they try. Oh, do you know what? We've stuck to the plan. And if we love Ruben, we'd all say what I'm about to say was true, but we don't all love Ruben, so we don't think about it that way. But is this element with the players where they go, look, 60 minutes in, we followed the plan to a T, we're 1-0 up, so we're fine. And then they take the foot off the gas. Maybe they're not quite covering a certain position. Maybe they're not pressing at the right time with as much intensity now because they feel they're going to be okay, and then it all goes wrong. Did they go out against Everton and go, well, look, we won our last 4 games. This one's going to be a walk in the park. Start flat-footed and started cold and lost. And I've told this story before and I'll say it again because it's so important to me. When I was part of Team GB, we had a coach called Joe Tierney, and if you try when you were away with the national team, he was one of the head coaches. If your fighting category you came to fight, and they would literally they'd touch your skin like this, and they'd run their hands across your head, maybe touch your back to see if you weren't sweaty, they wouldn't let you fight. Their view was you need to be ready to go, so you need to be warmed up. And if you actually watch athletes, footballers, boxers warm up, they get a sweat on. The warm-up's not like a little stretch. It's like you have to actually get your body into like a flow state. And if you turned up and you were like flat-footed and cold, and that's where I got that expression from. Is like I remember Joe saying it to a fighter that he sent away. It's like a 12-year-old kid. He was bawling his eyes out to his mum and dad, and he went, no, it's the rules, and we instill them now at this age. And I remember him saying to the kid's mother, we will not let him fight cold and flat-footed. And Man United were like that on Monday night. We came out cold and flat-footed. And you sometimes can't recover. And we should have recovered, but we just couldn't. It's like we couldn't get the ball rolling and the momentum going our way. And maybe it's all the coach. And maybe with a new guy, it improves. But the one thing I can't get out of my mind, and as much as Ruben looks lost, and as much as I would personally remove him today, if I was in charge, because I'm at a point now where I don't think it's going to get better. The one thing I can't get out of my mind is throwing games away quickly in matches, losing intensity, almost deciding when they're going to play or not play. I feel like this has happened to multiple managers. And again, maybe we've got bad luck. Maybe we've got bad luck and we've just consistently hired the wrong coaches and managers, and they just can't communicate well enough and motivate enough to get the players to put that energy, that effort and that intensity in. Or maybe the culture ain't right in that dressing room. And maybe if that's the reason we're dropping points in these games, the ownership is saying, well, the only way through this is to not sack a manager because of a lack of intensity from the players and the effort from the players. And we just stick with the coach until we've built the squad. And we force that learned behavior out because that's actually the reason that we only win 25%, 30%, 40%, 50% of games. And we don't ever push consistently into the 60s and 70 marker. I'm just throwing it out there. It's food for thought. It's not an opinion here. This is just food for thought. But when I hear him say this, it worries the living daylights out of me. It really, really does. This here from D-Mag, who says, no, Terry, we've had 5 managers now that can't get these players to be consistent. Now, I agree. And look, the argument is, and it's a great debate, some people argue because we've hired 5 bad coaches, 5 bad managers. Holds water. Some people believe because the players pick and choose when they want to play. And I've heard professionals say that and fans say it. My view is I think there's a combination of the two. But the bigger overarching issue, but again, which is boring, it's not sexy. It's not sexy to talk about the ownership all the time. I think it's because we've been leaderless for so long and rudderless for so long. Could be wrong. This here says, take managers out of it based only on player quality. Where do you think United should finish? 6 maximum, 12 minimum. We're in 6 to 12 category. That's our squad. Maximum 6th. Shouldn't be any lower than 12th. We don't have a good squad. I feel so red-pilled when it comes to our squad. So red-pilled. Up until a couple of years ago, I really thought it wasn't that far behind Chelsea's and the other sides. It is. It's nowhere near the standard needed, technically. And I think it's in the bottom 5 in the Premier League for strength, speed, and physicality. I can't think of many teams that we are bigger, stronger, and faster than. And in the modern day games, you know how important that is. If we just kept this current technical level, but made all of our players a few kilos heavier, a few inches taller, and 3 or 4 miles per hour faster, again, I think irrespective of coach, the win percentage would go up. We're such a weak, meek, flaccid team. Look at how the ex-players talk about Sir Alex Ferguson. They say sometimes he didn't even give them tactical breakdowns. Players are an issue. Listen, I agree, and this is where I can't stop these. They're not intrusive thoughts. That I think they're important thoughts. Is whenever I hear the greats talk, they didn't need a manager or a coach in any sport to motivate them. What they needed was the better coaches and the better man managers and the better people to help create marginal gains to help get them to that slight next level. How do I go from being top 5 boxer in the world to the best? How can I go from being a world champion to being a multiple weight world champion? Well, I need Roach. I need a top level coach. So I understand that. But I've read so many books of athletes, and everything about their determination is self-motivation. Roy Keane always says it. I didn't need a manager to work hard for my team and to do the right things and to be prepared. It helps when you've got a world-class manager that pushes that. There is a combination here. I think as much as I would sack Ruben, do not twist my words on that, people. And I'm not saying any of you are. I'm just putting that statement out there. I will never lose sight of how average this squad is and how bad their behaviour is as a collective group. And I'm speaking purely on a professional level. Ray here, hope you're well, brother, says, I think it's learnt behaviour. I've seen so many Everton performances in the last 13 years of my United life to say it's all the managers now. No, but I agree, I've seen so many of them. And what a lot of people, the problem is with these conversations is some people don't like to go back and look at these past because they go, well, there's only 2 members of that squad that are still here. It's irrelevant. That tells me you've never played sport. That tells me you've never had... It tells me you haven't had a career yet. It tells me you've definitely never done any type of leadership. It tells me that completely. On every single level. Let's do some more of your comments here. I totally agree as well. It's crazy contracts. Yeah, crazy. They are crazy. Terry, these players are only capable of playing counter-attacking football. We winning games this season. Average possession is lower than 60%. I agree. That's where the technical... I agree by and large. And that's where the technical flaw comes in. You know, and that's where it's difficult. But the manager's, obviously, his style is to have more of the ball. So he's got to implement that and try and get the team to... And this is where it becomes a little bit chicken and egg. Because the previous couple of managers, we spoke about it in the opposite way. It was implement the style and then add the players. Well, he's implemented the style. And when we come up against a team that we can have more of the ball against, we can't break them down. And we're doing the LVG thing again, where instead of going, right, let's add better players to the system, it's let's change the manager and probably the system. And I'm not averse to removing the manager. I don't want to change what we're trying to build because we've been pumping it into... This is also how you lose the players. This is also how the player behaviour becomes bad. Because just imagine how you'd feel. Forget football. Imagine your job. All right, you start 1st of January, start your new job. Okay, Terry, this is how you greet the customers. This is how you service the customers. This is how you do the aftercare for the customers. And they train you to do it that way. You go, great. 3 months in, right, I've learned, because you learn how to do it all now. It's a very complex job. There's loads of things to do. You know how to greet. You know all the different products you serve. You know how to process those products. You know how to question the customer, how to thank the customer, and how to do the aftercare. Imagine every 3 months, imagine every 6 months, maybe every year, the company keeps changing the process to a point where you feel like you never get to master it. So you'll never get into your full potential as an employee because just as you start feeling comfortable with the products, comfortable with the process of how you onboard a customer, service a customer, give aftercare, they change how you do it. Like, listen, now you greet people, you've got to do it this way. Well, why not the old way? Change the standards. By the way, when you're selling the product now, you've got to say these things and not these things because legislation has changed. We also added this new process in because we think it will collect data better so we can do better aftercare. Oh, that's really complicated. Well, we'll teach you how to do it. Okay. So now you're learning the new skills, and what actually you're not doing is honing in on perfecting the interpersonal skills because your brain is more focused on, oh, I've got to remember how to process this now. And then you do that, and then 6 months out, by the way, we're changing the operating system now. What do you mean? Well, you know, we trained you how to do all those new things 3 times on the iPads. We're now moving to a different type of smart device, but it's a completely different interface. oh, so I've just about mastered how to do this, and now we're changing how I have to process it again. Okay, so again, your focus goes away from how you're serving the customers, and it's on, oh, how do I process this? And I'm using that as an example because if you're continually having that change, people will never reach their full potential. It's impossible. You might have a few outliers who are just amazing customer service experts, amazing salespeople that smash it regardless, but the general group will become unmotivated and often poorly behaved. How do I know this? Because it was what I did for the better part of 15 years, managing. I used to go in and do crisis management in businesses that had gone through levels of change. We used to do thematic reviews, and you'd look at it and go, listen, your staff are actually really good. The problem is that every 3 months you're sending them in a new direction. So they never become masters. And we used to use this formula, which was people are unconsciously incompetent. So they have no idea that they're incompetent towards a job. And don't worry about the word incompetent, it's on a professional sense. Then they become consciously incompetent. They're like, bloody hell, I now understand I know nothing. But that's a good place to be in because you learn. Then you become consciously competent. And what they want you to end up being is unconsciously competent, where you know everything. You don't need to think about it. It's like second nature. You can never get to being unconsciously competent if before you even get to being consciously competent, they keep changing everything because you can't ever learn everything. You remain in that consciously incompetent phase, and it's the worst one. When you first start a new job, you're a bit nervous about the new people. You're a bit worried about, oh, am I going to get on with everybody? But you're not nervous about the work because you're brand new. You're like, well, they're going to teach me how to do the job, right? It's different when you're an expert in that industry, 20 years, and you move companies. You already know how to do most of it. But even then, you go, you might be a bit, you start kind of consciously incompetent around, I wonder how their computers work, how their systems work. Because you don't know any of that yet, even though you do the same job, but for a different bank or for a different car sales company. But imagine whilst they're training you to use the new computers, imagine they keep changing their operating system so you never actually learn it. That's going to become like a mental block for you. Like, bloody hell, I'm good at talking to the customers. I can take them out of the test drive, but I don't like selling to them. Why? Because I don't know how to log into the computer. It keeps changing. And I'm using a little bit of a warped example to show you that you have to create continuity. And as much as it's boring and fan cam rants would be so rubbish talking, it's not entertaining like someone ranting over a football match and saying, sack the manager, he's crap. But I think the surface level stuff plays a part and it's important to talk about. But I can't ignore root cause issues. I never have been able to, and I never will be able to. Thank you, Ray, for your comments, my friend. I appreciate that. I really hope that Ruben will never listen to us amateur wannabe football managers. Look, I do think that, I think there is feedback that he could take from fans. And I think that you don't need to be an expert in something to give good advice. And we know that. We've all been there before. You know, I was getting building work done and they couldn't do something. And I made well, what if you took this wall down and moved this here? Would that work? Oh, that's a good idea, actually. Sometimes an outside view can be really important. Some of the best people that are giving me parenting advice are non-parents. You know why? Because they have no subjectivity to the matter, because they don't think, I wouldn't do that because my Josephine would hate that, or my Tommy would get so upset, so I'm not going to suggest it. They don't have any kids. They don't care. They go, well, why don't you try this? Wouldn't that work? And you go, that's a good idea. You don't need to be an expert in something to have a view or give an opinion or to give a suggestion. Doesn't mean your suggestions are always right. I think some fans have a brilliant understanding of football. Fans are not wrong on Monday to go, we shouldn't have 3 centre-backs on right now. No fan was wrong for saying that. And I'd love for a fan to say that to Ruben. Like, Ruben, you're wrong here. Maybe if a fan in a polite way said it to him, maybe he'd listen more than the media. You never know. You never ever know. This is from Mr. who says the real issue is the players under Ollie are still there, who are now the senior players who control the narrative on the pitch. Any new players that come in are oil and water to them. I understand that. Well, look, the one thing I would say, there's a few super chats I missed that I'm going to come to in a second, is obviously the new news about the finances means that there's a bit more leeway now on club spending. So I expect to see Ineos. Again, Ruben's probably going to lose his job. But what I would still expect to see is January a little bit, but definitely the summer, keep improving the squad. keep buying better players. Because for me, what I want to get to a stage of is where we can limit the excuses for a manager, the rationales, the context to, this is a really good squad of players. You should be doing better. Wouldn't it be great to be in that position if we were struggling, where we look at it and go, I'll use contemporary names that make sense, but hang on, look. You know, we've got Belieber and Anderson and Wharton in the midfield. We've got Harry Kane up front with Šeško as a backup, with Mbeumo and Cunha and Morgan Rogers. What do you mean we only scored 2 goals in our last 3 games? You can look at that and go, we know we've got the players. Right now we're looking at it and we're like, well, the manager's done a bad job. But you also look at the squad. Once we've had a couple of, like once you've got a Šeško and a Cunha out the team, you're like, bloody hell. I don't really like the idea of who's coming on the pitch. Andreas here says, I think there's plenty of players who are playing out of position and they would actually perform better in a different system. Well, I don't, again, system and shape, I sort of view as a little bit different personally, but I hear you. I agree to that point. I think that, again, changing direction doesn't mean don't change the formation. Would we perform better in a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1? I think we would. But it doesn't mean the fundamentals of the system in terms of players would still step into the same areas. I don't think formation is that important. It's more about how you're trying to play football. Then you do need better players. You do need better players to make things work. Carl here says, we keep hiring managers that fixate on something. Ten Hag, it was inverting wingers. Amorim, it's Bruno as a CM and a left and left back. Both need to be more flexible. But I understand that. I think most managers are fixated on some element of the game. They're all going to have that element within them. It's just getting your ideas to work, getting them to resonate, and Amorim hasn't done a good enough job. And like I've said, and it's really hard one, because a lot of the people that challenge me think I'm defending him. I'm not. I think it's because I'm so broken when it comes to the club. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've lost faith in the next guy. But how do you guys think we're going to get on this weekend? We had the first poll running where 58% said they're not looking, not feeling good about it. Let's get your predictions in. Win, lose or draw. We'll do a poll for that for Man United this Sunday, 12 p.m. kickoff against Crystal Palace. Would love to get your thoughts. Would love to get your opinions on that, please, people, because I think it's going to be an interesting one to see what you will say. Definitely need to do some business in January. We need reinforcements desperately, especially in the middle, in the midfield. It could be the difference between getting European football or not. So I really hope we do Jan deals. I agree. Mr. here says, Terry, let me elaborate. The players we bought under Ollie were bought in for a specific style of play. Fouled. Ollie himself wanted to change it and the players turned on him. We still have them. Listen, no, I don't disagree with your point. Maybe we missed each other. I absolutely agree. We've got to get more of these players out quicker. We've got to buy more players quicker. I'm not a fan of like 10 out, 10 in. But I sort of look at it, if the financial situation is better now, it's let's get rid of 6 or 7 in the summer and maybe buy, maybe I always think 6 or 7 is the maximum we want to go to, but maybe we have to. Maybe, you do a couple of them in January and 4 or 5 in the summer and really start to reshape this squad. I think it's going to have to happen. Get your predictions in for us. The poll is up now. Terry, you always find a way to make things seem simpler than they need to be. It's a gift. Well, I don't know if that's a compliment or a dig. I actually don't think the solution to Manchester United is simple, and that's my point. If you've understood it simply, then it's a compliment. If you think I think it's a simple solution, then I've really messed up. It isn't simple. Man United isn't... Have you heard people do this, right? Where they got to act like a big club. And I go, okay, well, let's delve into that. What do you mean by let's act like a big club? Well, I mean, if Bayern Munich was sitting 10th after 12 games, they'd sack their manager or bring a new coach in. And they've done it early in seasons before and gone on to win league titles and trebles. We should act like that. And I look at it and think, in an ideal world, yes. But in the reality of our situation, Pep Guardiola could become our manager tomorrow with Klopp as his assistant. We ain't winning the league. With managers of that level, would we make the top 4? I'm still not sure. Look how much Pep struggled last year without the right profiles to make his system work. Imagine him with this Man United squad. Like last year is proof that even the greats like Pep need the right players. Look at Klopp's first season. When he didn't have anything that he needed, he come 7th? Something like that. So it's not a dig at those managers. It's the reality of those situations. Now, for me, what I get annoyed about is people thinking United's problems are simple. They're deep-rooted, multifaceted, and there's many of them. And I've never got an issue with somebody focusing on one and having a conversation about it. But what I always push back against, because I think as content, I don't like the word influencers at all, but as content creators and people that are pushing out a message, communication is our job. Communicating things in a way that make solutions sound simple and easier than they really are, I think you're doing a really bad job. And I think it's very misleading. And sometimes I think it's calculated. Let's make it sound really simple and easy, boil it down and shout about that one thing, encourage everybody to shout about that one thing, and if we get that one thing changed, watch us fly. I've seen that done with manager out, manager in debates for 10 years, and I've seen us progressively get worse and worse and worse. I still can't believe people fall for it. And the great thing about the United stand, it doesn't happen. People might send a clip out where Mark's talking about a manager being sacked, or Beth, or Ricky. Ricky, when it comes to Bruno Fernandes, we all know his thoughts on it. But I don't think Ricky believes we'd become a world-class team tomorrow if Bruno got sold. I no way Ricky would ever say that. Impossibility that is being said. Thank you, Colin, for saying it was a compliment. I appreciate that. Terry, Pep is not considered a good manager as he fouled with Bayern, spending over €1 billion at City just to win the Champions League, or win one Champions League in 9 years. He is definitely considered a great manager. As much as this is a United platform, and I love it, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect Pep Guardiola. Yes, spent a lot of money, but the best managers get to spend a lot of money. The pressure that comes with spending a lot of money is something that should be embraced. It's something that should be celebrated because it makes it harder. Look at Liverpool this year. Sashin here says Amorim has just 6 years of experience, so he is a really young manager. If United can give him a chance, why can't he give a chance to young players? Look, that's also something that's gone against him. You know, if, for instance, the game the other day, if you've got a young Cheeto, you've got a Kone and a Lacey on the bench, or one of them in the starting lineup and two of them coming on, there's always more. When we had those injury problems last year, I know it was earlier on in Amorim's time, and we played Fulham. Look how nobody was angry. Barring a few numpties, nobody was. You remember nobody was angry with Cheeto? He actually had some chances to score, but it was like, well done, young man. Like we as United fans love that sort of stuff. And it helps create an element of credit. We've got a talent like Mainly that can't kick a ball. That adds insult to injury. Then you're not improving us enough. You start layering it on. This is why, as I say, if someone sat me down now, if I had to make a choice, I mean, if they said, Terry, if the choices were keep Ruben, or if we sack him, we change direction completely again, or that doesn't even make sense. Keep Ruben's an option. Sack him. Well, I don't know why I've lost my train of thought. If the options were keep him and keep building the squad in this direction, or sack him and go in a new direction, I would go with keep him and keep building the squad rather than start in a new direction. I think that would be the reason I believe that's the worst choice, is because we've done that after every other manager sacking and got worse. I don't want to see a repeat of the same poor behaviours and processes that have screwed this club up. It doesn't mean I would like the choice of keeping him, but at least we'd be building a better squad. And at some point he would go and a new guy could come in and hopefully improve us. We've got to keep pulling in the same direction. We really, really do. I think it's fundamental that we do that. But that's just me. I'd love to get your opinions. On the Palace game, for me, how do I say this in the right way? I have voted, and I've voted for a loss, unfortunately. And I hate to say that. I know it's pessimistic. I know it's downbeat. I know it's... I know it's negative in many people's eyes. I just can't sit here and lie to you guys. I can't sit here and pretend for a single second that I think this is going to result in anything other than a defeat. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I feel sad that I feel that way. I almost feel a little annoyed that I feel that way. A good performance and a win against Everton would have given me a bit of belief that, you know what, drawn 2 and won 1 of our last 3 away games, 4 home wins on the bounce, good intensity. Maybe we could have gone into this game and gone, do you know what, a decent performance and a draw wouldn't be a bad result. Now we have to win. And I'll park again all the things about I would remove the manager now as long as we continued in the same direction today, if I could. I still want him to win. I still hope that he has this miraculous turnaround. I still hope we beat Palace, beat West Ham, beat Wolves. It all clicked into gear. We have a good January and we go, bloody hell, I was wrong for thinking he had to go. I hope that's the case. I don't care about anyone who tries to cook me. I don't care, if 3 years down the line we're doing what Arsenal were doing and people are, I remember when you said he had to go. I go, yeah, I did. I mean, I don't work at the club. I'm not there every day. I don't know what I don't know. I'm just giving an opinion as a fan. But I can't see it this weekend. For me, what would you do about the attack? We mentioned it right at the top. Xerxes, for me, has got to go back to the bench. I'm going to go out. I've changed my mind since the beginning of the video. I've changed it. I want Mbeumo and Ahmad on the right. 1 in the 10, 1 at the wing back. We know which way around that goes. I don't want to keep that together. I would move Bruno into the 10 alongside Mbeumo. I'd go with I would go with Delo, on the left. That's just a hard choice because they've both been poor, but I'd go with him. Middle, Cass, Mainu. The defense picks itself. It's going to be. Oh, Lissandro's back. I wouldn't start Lissandro yet. Still, I'd wait for a home game for that. I'd go with Yoro. Sorry, I'd go with. I'd go with Heaven, De Ligt, Yoro. Lemaine's in goal. The striker, I'd go with Chido-Obi. I would throw in a proper strike. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's raw. I'd put in a proper striker. Get that relationship with Mbeumo and Ahmad worked on again. Put Bruno Fernandes where he's at his best, where he might be able to feed the young man in. Put a player like Mainu that's better at controlling a game than Bruno Fernandes into that middle. I still don't think it'll win, but I think that gives us a better chance than Bruno and Cass in the middle are going to get destroyed against Palace. They're too big, too strong, too powerful, too good. We're going to have Mbeumo probably up the top, which means it'll be like the third game on the bounce. We're not putting that good partnership of Ahmad and Mbeumo together. We're going to put Mount, and we're going to probably put, or maybe we start Xerxes again or something, and then Mount goes into the 10. And I just think we get overran. I think my option gives us more of a chance of winning. I think we've got a very slim chance, but that's what I would do. How about you? How about you, people? The lineup is going to be a copy and paste of the last game. Yeah, I wouldn't be... Again, and if he does that and we go on to lose, he'll be cooked. He'll be cooked, and rightfully so. Maybe Mazwari could be a half-decent left wing-back. Oh, I don't know. He struggles being a wing-back on the right. I wouldn't want to put him on his weaker side. Knock, knock. Time to go hammer him. Eugene here says, Mount, Bruno and Mbeumo. Attack is very good. I mean, that could work. That could work as well. Mount played false nine a couple of times in pre-season and early in the season, and it worked quite well with Cunha being in the 10 next to him. Maybe you go with that, and then all you're really doing is moving one player around. We've actually had some good performances with that system, so maybe that works with Bruno going into Cunha. Bruno and Cunha are different. You wouldn't get someone that can carry the ball like Cunha, but you'd have someone who's better at passing the ball and setting people up, and you'd have Bruno in his natural position. So I wouldn't be adverse to that. But I want to see... The most important thing for me is to see some changes, try something different. If he does the same thing again and we get battered, that's when Ineos have to look at this and say, come on now. Come on. We know the squad ain't good enough. We know the squad is still nowhere near the standard. But you've got to be doing better. You've got to. Look, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in on this Friday evening. Make sure you get across now to Mark's Bundesliga watch along on That's Football. Go and give him your support. Go and support the community. Really, really important that you do it. Until next time, my people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we're going to see you all again very, very soon.